Hello everyone, Books with Banks back again with another video today, and again today this is one that's not strictly about books, but rather I wanted to turn my fantasy sci-fi kind of attention to films, particularly films that have been recognized in this ongoing award season. So I love talking about movies almost as much as I like talking about books, and every year I get really into the hype of award season, all building up to the main event, at least the main event for movies. My favorite award show being the Academy Awards. This year, 2023, we have the 95th Academy Awards happening on Sunday evening, March 12th. I'm very excited, but I am interested to do a little quick kind of analysis of what films from the sci-fi or fantasy genres have been deemed worthy enough, by the creatives and by the Academy and whatnot to be nominated this year. Which ones of these have I seen? Which ones have I missed? And do I think any of them are going to win the different categories they're nominated for? But before getting too far into it, though, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you could, that would mean a lot to me. And a few other notes before I get into this, a few movie-specific notes. So I'll mention here that the Banshees of Inisherin, sorry, I'm not sure about the emphasis on that. The Banshees movie. This is nominated for a ton of categories. I still think it's my favorite movie of the bunch that I've seen so far this year. And it does have very light kind of spiritual elements. There's a little bit of prophecy in there, and then there's references to old banshees and stories, but I don't think any of it is strong enough or central enough to the plot for anyone to really look at this movie and consider it fantasy in any way. I also don't really know what to do about the Batman, the Robert Pattinson Batman. It's nominated in a few categories, and while this movie in particular doesn't really go into a lot of the sci-fi, fantasy kind of elements of the DC canon, Batman's always kind of a weird one to judge because sure, some of the gadgets are a little sci-fi-ish, but yeah, it's a little difficult to say whether or not it's sci-fi fantasy or just vigilante kind of crime film. And also between Irish and Eastern Asian names, I apologize in advance if my pronunciations of any of these names that I'm going to get to are off. Those particular groups, those particular languages or types of names, those come up a lot more than others do in the nominees this year. But yeah, also please feel free to correct any of my mispronunciations down below. So without any further ado, let's go through the categories and see what fantasy sci-fi stuff has been nominated and what has a chance to win. So first, let's talk about visual effects. Everything that's nominated is Avatar: The Way of Water, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, The Batman, All Quiet on the Western Front, and Top Gun: Maverick. Now, All Quiet on the Western Front and Top Gun: Maverick, those are definitely not sci-fi or fantasy. And the Batman, we already discussed, it's a little bit of a gray area. I have not yet seen Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I'm a little bit behind on catching up with all the Marvel shows and all the Phase 4 stuff, but I am fairly confident in saying that, this might be one of the categories myself and a lot of other people are most confident in this year, in that Avatar: The Way of Water is easily going to win visual effects. It looks amazing. I really love the movie. I really enjoyed the movie, I should say. And if it excels in any category, it's definitely visual effects, and I'm sure we're going to see our first win for the genre of this year with this category, with visual effects going to Avatar: The Way of Water. Next up, we have writing, and writing doesn't really have too many fantasy sci-fi stuff with it. What is nominated, though, are Triangle of Sadness, Tar, The Fabelmans, and Banshees of Inisherin, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. So Everything Everywhere All at Once is the only sci-fi thing nominated here, and I think it's going to... I think it has a pretty good shot at winning. I could see maybe Banshees winning, because I'm worried Banshees might not win anything else, and I do really like that movie. I think I like that film a little more than Everything Everywhere, but I think a lot of times the writing award goes to what's the most like original screenplay or like the most kind of out there like crazy idea for a storyline, and Everything Everywhere has that in spades. So I think it's a pretty good bet to say Everything Everywhere is up there to win this. Again, I think Banshees could take it, but I think Everything Everywhere also has a really good shot too. Then writing adapted screenplay. There's no real sci-fi stuff in this category, but there is one with kind of a caveat. So we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Women Talking, Top Gun Maverick, Living, and Glass Onion, and Knives Out Mystery. Now I will say Glass Onion does have like a big kind of prop or like element of the story is this sci-fi-ish like reusable energy resource thing. I don't know if it's reusable, but it's yeah, and it's a sci-fi-ish kind of concept at sort of the heart of what's going on the island that they're all on. But I thought the movie was all right. It was pretty good, and I don't think it's gonna win this award anyway. I think Women Talking has a really good shot here because it was kind of shut out, unfortunately, of a lot of other categories. But I think this might be what Women Talking wins, and that's not really a sci-fi. That's not at all a sci-fi or fantasy movie. Next up, we have sound, and here we have Avatar: The Way of Water and The Batman nominated. We also have All Quiet on the Western Front. You have Elvis, and you have Top Gun Maverick. Now, I actually don't think any sci-fi stuff is gonna win here. I think all three of the other ones, Top Gun, Elvis, and All Quiet, all have kind of unique things to look at with their sound design. I mean, Top Gun obviously has the jets and everything like that, and the gunfire. Elvis obviously has the music, the musical side of things, and then All Quiet has on the ground mortars going off, explosions, ringing in ears, all that good war film stuff. I think right now Top Gun is pretty solidly leading the race for sound. But yeah, I don't think any of the sci-fi stuff is gonna win here. Then short film live action. Now I haven't seen any of these, so please let me know down below in the comments if you have seen them and whether or not they're good or bad, if maybe some of them are sci-fi or fantasy, and so on. These 5 short film live action nominees are An Irish Goodbye, Ivaloo, Le Pupille, Night Ride, and The Red Suitcase. Yeah. Haven't seen them. I'd be curious to know if anyone has, and if you're a fan of those. Short film animated. Now, I have seen 3 of these. I have not seen 2. The 2 I haven't seen are The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And I haven't seen An Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake, and I think I believe it. From what I've been hearing, it seems like The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse is kind of the front runner in this race. But of the 3 that I've seen, these are The Flying Sailor, Ice Merchants, My Year of Dicks. None of them are particularly sci-fi fantasy, but Ice Merchants of those 3 is easily my favorite. I think I watched it on YouTube. It's pretty short, but it's a really beautiful story. Yeah, highly recommend. I recommend all 3 of those. Ice Merchants and My Year of Dicks in particular I like. Flying Sailor is alright. But yeah, nothing real sci-fi fantasy there. Then production design. We have another nomination for Avatar. I don't think it's going to win here. I think the 2 front runners here are All Quiet on the Western Front and Babylon. I think Elvis and the Fabelmans, they're also nominated, and Elvis probably has an okay shot at this one too. But I would say Babylon gets it. If Babylon doesn't, then All Quiet gets it. If All Quiet doesn't, then Elvis gets it. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Again, fortunately in production design, no real wins for sci-fi or fantasy. And then we're not going to go through original song because it doesn't really fit into this video. And we're not doing documentary short film or documentary feature film because they're likely not really fantasy or sci-fi related. And sadly, I haven't seen any of these this year. But please let me know if there were any documentaries, any of the nominees that stood out to you that you think I might like or that you'd like to recommend. Moving on to music and original score. So Everything Everywhere All at Once is nominated here, which is great to see Avatar and Everything Everywhere getting all of these nominations. However, I don't think Everything Everywhere is going to win music. I believe this will probably go to Babylon because I'm blanking on his name right now, but the person who did the music for Babylon also did the music for Damien Chazelle's other films like Whiplash and La La Land, and he won both of those times, or I'm pretty sure he won both of those times. I'm totally blanking on his name right now, but I think Babylon's probably going to get original score. I think All Quiet maybe could. I don't know. But I think Babylon's the front runner there. Then makeup and hairstyling. This one's a little weird. I will say both superhero movies, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and The Batman are nominated here. Obviously, The Batman gets this nomination for everything they did with Colin Farrell in the Penguin makeup. And then Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I haven't seen it. I'd love to hear down below if everybody likes the makeup and hairstyling. I do think that The Whale and Elvis and All Quiet on the Western Front all have better chances in this category. The Whale because of Brendan Fraser's transformation, Elvis because of how accurately they tried to turn Austin Butler into Elvis, and also then All Quiet on the Western Front. There's a lot of gore and mud and things like that really does kind of fall under that makeup category. So those, I think, right now I would guess The Whale. Unfortunately, neither of the superhero ones. Then international feature film. Now, I don't believe any of these really have sci-fi or fantasy elements, but I could be wrong. I've only seen one of them, and maybe the movie EO does sort of have it has a bizarre element to it, but the only one I've seen is All Quiet on the Western Front. Then you have Close, EO, The Quiet Girl, and Argentina 1985. Those are all the nominees. I think this is a pretty solid lock for All Quiet on the Western Front. EO, from my understanding, is a movie told through the point of view of a goat. So, yeah. Then film editing. The nominees are Everything Everywhere All at Once, Top Gun Maverick, Elvis, Banshees of Inisherin, and then Tar. And I think of these, Everything Everywhere All at Once has a really good shot at winning here because not only did the editors have to deal with editing, just a normal straightforward storyline, but they had to bounce back and forth between different parallel realities, things like that. I think, and I do think that this award typically goes to movies that have the most editing, or where it looks like the most time went into editing or had to go into the editing process, as opposed to necessarily which film has like the crispest, like the cleanest kind of most logical editing. So I do think we might get a sci-fi win here with Everything Everywhere All at Once. Then directing, I think we're going to get another sci-fi win because I'm pretty sure Everything Everywhere is going to win this. I will say the other nominees are Banshees of Inisherin, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. Of those, I think Banshees, Martin McDonagh could maybe win here, but I think the biggest competition for the Daniels, the two directors of Everything Everywhere, their biggest competition here is probably Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, and I maybe preferred The Fabelmans, at least the direction, more than Everything Everywhere. But I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be too upset about more sci-fi wins. So yeah, cheers. here we go with Everything Everywhere, starting to rack up a lot of these awards, at least in my predictions. Then costume design. I think we're probably going to get another sci-fi win here because we have Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and Everything Everywhere All at Once nominated. We also have Elvis, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, and Babylon. I think Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. That's my prediction to win here. So yay! I think Elvis could maybe upset that, disrupt that. But yeah, right now I'm predicting Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And then cinematography. And I don't really believe any of the nominees in cinematography have fantasy sci-fi stuff in them, but these are Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, Empire of Light, Elvis, and All Quiet on the Western Front. I think All Quiet on the Western Front. That would be my pick so far to win. Haven't seen Tar yet, unfortunately. I'll try and see it before the award ceremony. I hear that the cinematography there is brilliant, but yeah. Right now I'm predicting All Quiet on the Western Front. No sci-fi, no fantasy. Then animated feature film. So this is a fun category because of the category, all of these movies tend to be fantasy, sci-fi in some way, shape, or form. And these nominees are Turning Red, The Sea Beast, Marcel the Shell with Shoes, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. This one's pretty much a lock, and I love this movie. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio I think it's totally going to win here. It's totally well-deserved. It's really, really brilliant. I believe it's still on Netflix. If you haven't seen it and you're at all kind of a fan of the Pinocchio storyline, I highly recommend checking it out. And that's definitely fantasy sort of stuff going on there. Then actress in a supporting role. This one's going to be strange. I think, well, first and foremost, we have three nominees, three actresses from the sci-fi kind of films. So we have Angela Bassett from Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Then we have Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Hsu for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Both of them for that film. I think this is probably between Angela Bassett and Jamie Lee Curtis, and right now I want to give the edge to Angela Bassett. Again, I haven't seen that movie, and I have seen Everything Everywhere. If I were voting, I would probably vote for Stephanie Hsu. Again, sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right, because I think she's the better supporting cast member in Everything Everywhere. Jamie Lee Curtis is great, don't get me wrong, but what Stephanie Hsu does as the daughter, I think, is really, really powerful. Again, I haven't seen Black Panther, but it seems like that's where things are leading and predictions are leaning is towards Angela Bassett for supporting actress. Then actress in a leading role, I think this one's pretty much going to go to Everything Everywhere. Again, this movie is just racking up the awards. Michelle Yeoh is probably going to win here. Her other nominees are Andrea Riseborough in To Leslie, Anna de Armas in Blonde, Kate Blanchett in Tar, and Michelle Williams in The Fabelmans. Again, if I was voting, maybe I'd give it to Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans because that was such a unique, kind of powerful and emotional character that she had to play in that movie. But Michelle Yeoh definitely still deserves it for Everything Everywhere, and it seems like that's where things are leaning right now. Then actor in a supporting role. I think this also is going to go to Everything Everywhere All at Once with Ke Huy Quan. I think he did a fantastic job. I'm not sure if I would give this to anyone else myself. Maybe Brendan Gleeson for Banshees. But yeah, so the other nominees are Judd Hirsch in The Fabelmans, Brian Tyree Henry in Causeway, Brendan Gleeson in Banshees, and Barry Keoghan in Banshees as well. So yeah. Ke Huy Quan is fantastic in Everything Everywhere. If there's one performance to see that movie for, I'd say maybe it's him or Stephanie. But yeah, great movie. So happy to see a lot of these predictions kind of leaning towards awarding some of the sci-fi or one of the bigger sci-fi films of the year. Then actor in a leading role. I don't believe any of these performances are really for movies with sci-fi fantasy stuff either. Please correct me if I'm wrong though. But these are Brendan Fraser in The Whale, Austin Butler in Elvis, Paul Mescal in Aftersun, Bill Nye in Living, and Colin Farrell in The Banshees of Inisherin. And I think Brendan Fraser is gonna win this for The Whale. Butler maybe could for Elvis. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think right now my prediction's leaning Fraser. Again, no sci-fi fantasy. Then the big one, Best Picture. The main two that we have here that are nominated, that are sci-fi, are Avatar: The Way of Water and Everything Everywhere All at Once. My prediction right now is that Everything Everywhere takes it. It's taken a lot of awards in my predictions so far, and just kind of builds up to also being awarded Best Picture of 2022. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we will get a win there. The other films nominated though are Banshees of Inisherin, Top Gun Maverick, Elvis, The Fabelmans, Triangle of Sadness, All Quiet on the Western Front, Tar, and Women Talking. So, of the fantasy sci-fi films nominated, easily three of them dominate the categories and win likelihood. Those being Avatar, Black Panther. Those are two of the more prominent ones, but then of course the one that could very likely win it all and just sweep so many of these categories is Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it really does deserve that, even though some of the bits, some of the comedy scenes maybe get a little too crazy for my personal taste at some points in the movie. There's other really grounded and really powerful emotional moments that I think help to balance that out. I think it is a really, really great movie. It's very strange, but it's a ton of fun. And even though this might not seem like a ton of representation for our favorite genre, only really having 3 or 4 sci-fi fantasy films mentioned, I actually do feel like it's more representation than most years. I think the last time we really had a sci-fi fantasy film win was Shape of Water, and that was 5 or 6 years ago now. I thought that movie was really, really wonderful, and I'm excited to see that we might get another win this year. My favorite films of the year are probably, though not even sci-fi fantasy, they're probably Banshees of Inisherin and Fabelmans, but I will be perfectly happy if the sci-fi fantasy films win any of their categories. So, all that said, let me know what nominees you're rooting for, and if you've seen any of these films, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.